Just let me in here.
Thank you, Sid. Amy Johnson. Teresa Lawson.
Here.
Gigi Robinson.
Here.
Kim Usselton. Here. And Pat Welch.
Here. And Ms. Vaughn, Ms. Johnson did call in and she's not feeling well tonight. The first part of business is approval of the agenda. We've had several agenda updates and everybody has, I believe, has a recent agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda as presented, please?
So moved.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Robinson. Who was the second, please?
Me.
Teresa Lawson. Any further discussion? If not, please call the roll.
Jessica Fogarty.
Here. Yes.
Chairman Welch.
Yes.
Sid Hill.
Yes.
Amy Johnson. Oh, Amy's absent. Kim Usselton.
Yes.
Chairman, we have all in favor.
Thank you. Is there any member of the community that wishes to address the board on an agenda item or a non-agenda item? Anyone? If not, let's have the reception for the retirees. This is not what we wanted. We wanted a live with food and hugs and exchange of pleasantries, but Mr. Hargrove, usher us into the age of technology, please.
Thank you, Chairman Welch. We are honoring 6 retirees tonight, and there were a couple of them that are not going to be able to attend this meeting. Well over 200 years of service to our students of Tullahoma City, and we have a special visitor tonight. Former Tullahoma City Schools Director, Dr. Dan Lawson, will talk to us about our Tullahoma High School Principal, Kathy Rose.
Thank you, Superintendent Hargrove. I appreciate that. Welcome, sir. And greetings to all. I'll let you know that the next hour is going to be good. I've already lived it. So I tell Scott every time we talk that it's going to be okay for the next hour anyway, because I've already lived that for you. I enjoyed a tremendous experience working with a wonderful set of people in Tullahoma, including many of the folks who are on this phone call. And I have nothing but great memories and kind thoughts about all of the folks on this conversation. And one that I would like to spend just a couple of minutes sharing with you my feelings about is Principal Kathy Rose. Certainly, as I've had the opportunity to work with an awful lot of principals, every one of whom were terribly loyal to the job, loyal to supervision, and loyal to kids. But Kathy was one who took her work with a level of passion that truly had no peer. I've jokingly said to many, or at least they thought it was a joke, that if I had the opportunity to take one principal to a bar fight, that principal would be Kathy Rose. Most people looked at Kathy Rose, the demure little principal, and said, yeah, not knowing that she would cut someone in a heartbeat in that bar fight, and I was confident of that. Kathy, I appreciate without question your loyalty to the cause, your passion toward your work, and I appreciate the friendship that we developed and truly enjoy to this day. You are well due a pleasant retirement, and I hope it is long and enjoyable and every bit as fulfilling as I have found my transition. Certainly, if there's anything I can do to help in that endeavor, I'll be happy to do so. But I'm confident with your intellect, with your service, with your passion, you're going to find another place to plug in. You're going to find something that is fulfilling, and you're going to find very quickly that your phone doesn't ring nearly so much. And when it does ring, you don't dread it nearly so much. So I'm going to pray that your experience in this transition is every bit as pleasant as mine. And I want to let you know that memories for more than 2 decades of working with you are certainly nothing but pleasant, ma'am. I have truly treasured and value our friendship, treasure and value the investments that you've made in our kids, in our community, and you have truly framed a path for kids that will be exciting, rewarding, and very valuable. Thank you very much for your service, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Lawson, and thank you, Kathy Rose, for your service to Tullahoma City Schools. Thanks, Doc.
Kathy, if you want a response, I know this, we didn't mention this, but if you'd like to respond, you certainly may. Hit your mute button. Go ahead, Scott.
All right. Our next retiree that I'm going to spend a few minutes talking about is Miss Sadie Watson. Sadie Watson is a 4th grade teacher at East Lincoln. She began teaching kindergarten at East Liverpool Elementary School in Lisbon, Ohio in 1911. Before there was even a kindergarten around, she was teaching it. Please don't pass judgment. I have a disclaimer. Sadie knows how I feel about her. She's one of the best people on the planet. Sadie shared with me last school year that this school year, the 1920 year, was going to be her last year. And she got me last. So I started out our first faculty meeting by calling Sadie a goat. And Sadie didn't know what GOAT stood for. Her face was red, and I enjoyed it. And I explained what GOAT stood for, greatest of all times. And so that backhanded compliment, I received Facebook messages following that meeting and phone calls from people from all over wanting to buy my goats. And I kind of forgotten about Sadie, wanting to know how much I was going to sell my goats for. So don't feel sorry for Sadie. She's going to get you back twice as much. And that's one of the fun sides of Sadie that I'll miss. She's a gem of a teacher and even a better person. Sadie has a hard shell like a turtle, and she's firm and tough, and she holds people to the standard, and I will always respect and adore that about Sadie. But a lot of people don't understand she is a gooey marshmallow on the inside, and she loves with all her heart. She's able to reach a lot of children that are so hard to reach, and she just has a natural knack for that. Sadie, I am so sorry that your last year of teaching ended the way that this school year did, but we sure are going to miss you. And I know you're going to enjoy your time with your grandchildren. And thank you so much, Sadie. Thank you for making the difference in our students' lives every day in our classroom. Thank you for making a difference for your principal and your peers. And Sadie Watson, it sure has been an honor.
Scott, you did turn a little bit marshmallowy there.
She'll give it back to me twice. So
Good.
She's tougher than a pine nut. Miss Sadie.
That's fine. That's
Well
fine.
enough. All right, Dr. Dillahay, are you on with us?
Kathy's back on too. She wants to talk.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Miss Rose. Your mute button's still on.
Just tap it one time and wait.
Where were you
Hey.
2 minutes ago? Okay. I'm sorry. Thank you.
You're fine.
Thank you. I want to thank Dr. Lawson for his kind words. And y'all don't have an orchestra there, do you? It's an orchestra, because I don't want to get halfway into this and then, the soundtrack from Aladdin start playing behind me or something. But I've got a few people I have to say thank you to, because I wasn't able to do this alone. And a lot of those people are on this call right now. First of all, I want to thank Mark Rose. He's the best friend I've ever had, and he has always supported me in this position, and he has given me the freedom to pursue the job that I have loved all of my life. I want to thank my daughters, Margaret and Elizabeth. They never complained when they ended up having to take a second seat to the job. They were always kind, understanding, and supportive. I want to thank the APs that I've had an opportunity to work with, and I want to start by saying a big thank you to Scott Hargrove, whom I worked next door to for several years. He took me under his wing, and he taught me not to hand anybody the keys to my bus. And I have always remembered that. Scott, thank you for taking a rookie and coaching me up. I need to thank Shannon Duncan. I need to thank Travis Moore. I need to thank Cindy Herrera and Charles Lawson. I know you're out there. If I could pick a brother, I couldn't pick one that would be better to me than you have been, and the support you've given me. Amy Sisk, Sherry Zimmerman, Greg English, you have helped me through the most challenging year that I have had in my career with the health issues that I had. I want to thank Mike Landis. I think he is out there because he pulled me out of the classroom long after I thought my administration days were over with, and he mentored me and he talked me through his thought process and was extremely patient with me and always had time for me. I would be very remiss if I did not give a shout out to the late Reverend Joe Julius from St. Paul's, because Father Julius was the one who, in a conversation one afternoon in 1989, offhandedly said, "Well, you're a real positive person. I think you'd make a good principal." And I'd never even considered it before. I want to thank all the friends who are out there who have celebrated with me and have listened to me moan throughout the years. You have been absolutely great. I'm looking forward to spending some real quality time with you. I saw some 870 prefixes out there. I've got some former students from the 80s from Arkansas who are on this call too. Y'all will never know what you have meant to me. And finally, I need to thank you, Dr. Lawson. I was able to do this job because I always felt your hand firmly between my shoulder blades every move I made. And if I screwed up really bad and upset you, you never let me know it for a minute. And I appreciate that very much. Thank all of you for giving me the opportunity to serve here in Tullahoma City Schools. Came here looking for good schools for our children. We found a home and a future here, and we appreciate what this community has done for us. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Hargrove, continue on.
Yes, sir. Miss Sadie thank you, Miss Rose, for your service. Miss Watson, she wasn't able to talk, and I told her I love her, and she'll be missed. She can always get on the sub list. That would make Rhonda Lynn happy.
There we go.
East Middle School, Dr. Dillahay.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Congratulations to Miss Watson and Miss Rose. I kind of feel inadequate here. We've got two folks from East Middle School retiring, and they have between them around 60 years in education, and I've gotten the privilege of working with them for about 9 months. So I kind of feel inadequate here. But first of all, Miss Joy Cunningham has been at East Middle School for 20 years. Prior to that, she served as an EA. She even worked with the Cool Kids program. She taught in the split job at East Lincoln and Robert E. Lee prior to coming to East. Joy is an awesome art teacher and an even better person. We will miss her, and we hope that she enjoys her well-deserved retirement. Ms. Cunningham, we wish you all the best. We also have Miss Nancy Russum. Came to this party a little late. I talked with Miss Russum earlier today, and she told me that she had decided to retire. She said that while she loves teaching, she's ready to be Grandmother Nancy, or Grancy, as her grandkids call her. Miss Russum has been with TCS for 28 years and will be greatly missed. We wish her well in retirement. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Miss Joy and Miss Nancy, and thank you, Dr. Dillahay. Cindy, do you want to share any words?
Yes, I do.
Well, there's Miss Joy.
Is it?
Yeah, let's let Miss Cunningham speak.
Hi there.
Excuse me. I gave you.
That's okay.
Go ahead, Joy.
Yes. I just wanted to say I've really been on a great journey, and I really appreciate you all. This system's been wonderful to me, and I hope to maybe be back in a different capacity. If you need a good sub, you might be able to call on me. But I have thoroughly enjoyed teaching art, and I think that would be the only thing I would want to teach. Always been a love of mine since I can remember, and I've enjoyed it, and I will miss everything about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Joy.
Miss Cindy, do you want to share anything about Jackie Carver?
Yes, I would love to share something about Jackie Carver. Jackie Carver is retiring after 51 years of teaching, 37 with Tullahoma. And the comment was made, I don't believe there will be another person come to Tullahoma City Schools that will teach 50 plus years with the capacity that he taught our students here at West Middle School. I don't know if I'm still there. My computer just left and went somewhere. Okay, we're back on. Sorry. I do want to just share that he did teach 51 years. And I will say, no matter where I'm at in the state of Tennessee, if I run across a Tullahoma West Middle School student, former student, they first words out of their mouth, how is Jackie Carver? I just want to share that for me, he was probably one of the most influential people when I first began teaching. At Thanksgiving break, I was sitting at my desk the Wednesday before we went home, and he goes, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "Well, I'm writing my letter of resignation." And the lessons he taught me through the years at Old West Middle School carried me through Tullahoma High School and then back here to West. I just really appreciate all that he's done for our kids. And when you think about a man walking into a gym with 80 plus kids, he always had total control of that gym. He was an amazing person to work with, and I will greatly miss working with him, and I know the teachers here will miss him. We have planned on a big celebration on April the 26th, but it got canceled, so we're moving it to the fall. So we are going to miss Jackie Carver, but I hope he still comes around. We love Jackie Carver. Thank you.
Thank you, Miss Kim. And then we have from Jack T. Farrer, Miss Kim Brooks, and she's unable to participate. And she is heading up north, I believe, to Minnesota after her retirement. Most folks move south. She's moving north, swimming upstream. But congratulations to our 6 retirees. Thank you for the difference that you've made in our students' lives, also in our personal lives. And like I say, I know a lady that will put you to work. Just call that sub-coordinator around the program. Thank you, Chairman.
You're welcome. And she mentioned how Cindy mentioned how Jackie could handle 80 children at one time. All they had to do is look at his forearms, which I've communicated before. He looked like Popeye. He wouldn't have any trouble keeping a strong discipline. All right, next item, I believe, is the consent agenda. We've got a pretty good list on the agenda tonight, the consent agenda: approval of the minutes from the past meeting, the Holland Scholarship, consolidated application for federal funding, the 2021 Cool Kids budget, the 2021 nutrition budget, and the surety bond for Dr. Stevens. Is there any of those items that need to be pulled off the consent agenda to be talked about in depth? If not, I entertain a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented.
So moved. Kim?
Motion by Ms. Usselton. Is there a second?
Second, Gigi.
Second by Ms. Robinson. Any further discussion on the consent agenda? If not, Ms. Vaughn will call the roll, please.
Yes, sir. Sid Hill?
Yes.
Teresa Lawson?
Yes.
Jessica Fogarty?
Yes.
And Chairman Welch?
Yes.
Chairman, that's all in favor.
Thank you. All right, we're into unfinished business, and the first is the old maintenance turned into building and grounds report. And I have the most lengthy report to give tonight that we probably ever have. And if it's all right, there's going to be several actions that the committee recommended that the board take tonight. Instead of going through the whole report and then going back to start, as we go through here, I'm going to ask for motions as we go through the report, if it's okay. The first part is the drain piping at the THS track. Both radiuses at the ends of the track have pooling problems right now, especially the one at the high jump pit area, which is the school end. We had an engineering report of pretty expensive suggestions how to move the water out, and Coach Olive has got some experience in draining his own field, and we also have a contractor, Brad Jeans, from Lincoln County, who put the turf, the irrigation, and the drainage in when the field was and the stadium was redone 11 years ago. He's got experience all over the South. And he and Coach Olive have looked at it, and they've had a different suggestion than what the engineering firm had, and it's going to possibly save us somewhere between $75,000 and $100,000. And that basically, and Jason, if you're here, you can pipe in if I'm getting something wrong. They're going to trench and put new drains in that be parallel to the end zone and the radius closest to the school. And that water will filter out underneath, coming in. There's some drains near the parking lot, near the entrance of John Olive Boulevard, and I believe that's where it will tie in and then go out. And there'll be some flushing of lines made in the other end zone that are filled with gravel and silt right now. Both think that, and the committee, after a long discussion, felt like it was worth trying. They feel like it'll handle the drainage, and it'll certainly save us a considerable amount of money. Jason, do you have anything to add?
No, sir.
Covered that okay?
Yes, sir.
All right. Can you, we're looking right now for RFP, I believe. Is that right, Jason?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
All right. And what was a high estimate on, we were talking 35, 50,000, something like that, wasn't it?
50 being the high end of that range.
That's right. Okay.
And this motion tonight is just allowing us to accept RFPs. You're not voting to
We're not spending any money at this time. That's correct. Any questions on that? If not, as I said, we're going to try to take action as we go through the report. Do I have a motion to send an RFP for the drainage in the inside the track area before we resurface the track?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Robinson. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hill. Any further discussion? If not, Ms. Vaughn, if you'd please call the roll.
Pat Welch?
Yes.
Jessica Fogarty?
Yes.
Kim Usselton? Yes. and Teresa Lawson.
Yes.
That's all in favor, Chairman.
Thank you. Now we'll go to the fan room access door. There's a smaller room. Jason, please step in now if I get something incorrect. There's a small room adjacent to the large band room, which the band department would like to make a better use of. There's 2 instruments, as I understand, in the larger room that cannot get into the smaller room, even taking it outside and using the exterior door that goes from the outside to the small room. That door is not big enough for me either. OLG's been down there. There's a area that they can knock out a wall that will not threaten the structural integrity of the building, and we're looking for a motion to start an RFP on that project. Jason, what was the conservative high estimate on that?
15,000, Mr. Welch.
Okay. Any questions there before we ask for a motion?
I have a question.
Please, go ahead.
It's Kim. When is the plan to do this? When do they hope to have this, start this once we get the estimates and approved?
We would send out the bids probably by the first part of next week at the latest, and hopefully have it back in time for you to take action at the June meeting would be wonderful.
Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Any other questions or comments? Not, I'll entertain a motion to send out RFP for the access door of the smaller band room.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Usselton. Is there a second?
Second by Jessica.
Second by Ms. Fogarty. But thank you all for bringing the names in. It's making it easier for me tonight. Any further discussion? If not, if Ms. Vaughn will call the roll, please.
Teresa Lawson,
Yes.
Sid Hill,
Yes.
Pat Welch,
Yes.
and Gigi Robinson.
Yes.
It's all in favor, Chairman.
Okay. I probably needed to mention that we'd hope, though we're not sure on the drainage system, whether that will come from this year's budget. The band room addition, we hope for sure would come from this year's budget. The next items were the East Middle School and the Bel Air Elementary School ceiling tile replacement. Everybody's been over there to both schools, and everybody understands that both projects are greatly needed. This would come probably from the fund balance in the next school budget. And Jason, if you give me the estimates we have right now, again, we're going to be looking for RFP, not a bid tonight.
The East Middle guesstimate is about 195,000. The estimate number for the Bel Air project is about 118,000.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? Again, both of those are going to make a significant difference in those buildings. And if you haven't been to East, I would encourage you again to go by there. What Lee Cole and Dr. Dillahay have done over there has been extraordinary. If there's no other questions, and again, these are RFPs. These would come from the next year's fund balance on the budget. And as we go through, we've still got good reports on later tonight on the BEP. We still feel like we're doing well budget wise, but if things turn sour with the state and the economy, we can certainly make deletions to these plans. If not, if there's no other discussion or comments, I'm going to entertain a motion to send out RFPs for East Middle School. I think we need to probably get 2 motions first. We'll go with the East Middle first.
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Robinson. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Lawson. Any further discussion? If not, Ms. Vaughn, would you please call the roll?
Jessica Fogarty,
Yes.
Sid Hill,
Yes.
Kim Usselton,
Yes.
and Pat Welch.
Yes.
That's all in favor, Chairman.
Thank you, ma'am. And then the Bel Air, is there a motion for Bel Air, please?
So moved. Kim?
Motion by Ms. Usselton.
Second by Jessica.
Thank you, Jessica. Second by Ms. Fogarty. Any further discussion on Bel Air's motion? If not, Ms. Vaughn, would you please call the roll?
Gigi Robinson,
Yes.
Pat Welch,
Yes.
Sid Hill,
Yes.
and Teresa Lawson.
Yes.
That's all in favor, Chairman.
Thank you. Give you a little bit of break on action items for information. We already have started rescreening 3 gym floors, and that's going to be at the main gym at the high school, the auxiliary gym at the high school, lower gym, and also at Robert E. Lee. And if anyone wants to come tonight, we'd let you in. The boardroom is having ceiling tile replaced now, and it will make another noticeable difference in the appearance of the boardroom. We go to the next item, and that's the THS Fieldhouse flooring. The fieldhouse we're talking about is the addition, the second building that's on the right as you come to both of them. It's divided in halves. The half closer to the school is now used as basically only for PE. I think we've had some athletic teams dressing there, but I'm not sure that anybody is now. But it has an old mat down, which I thought was about 15 years old. And I don't want to go into what I thought, since I've been on the Building and Grounds Committee, what I thought was the worst kept piece of our property. But the second most would be the mat in that room. It ends up, it's 27, is that right, Jason, years old.
That's correct.
It is in horrible shape, and I am, to be honest, I'm tired of taking somebody that wants to tour the athletic facilities down there. It is in horrible shape. The athletic teams aren't using it. It's the PE people basically that are warming up and doing mat drills in there. And Coach Olive he's been to every building and grounds meeting since he's made athletic director, and I don't know that he's brought up any PE or football related additions that he would like to make to the committee. And I asked Mr. Ray about 2 weeks ago to look into getting that mat replaced. And at the same time, I didn't realize that the flooring that's down in the weight area that's in the room furthest away from the school, it's 26 years old and needing to be replaced. So we've got an estimate, I think, for both together. Jason, was both of them $34,000? Is that correct?
I believe the total was 42.
Okay. I'm sorry, 42. And that is the high end. Again, we're not voting to spend money tonight. We're looking for RFP. And I would have greatly appreciated, I don't want to take anybody to that warm-up area any longer with that mat down there. Do we have a motion to RFP for it's actually the Creed McClure Fieldhouse?
Sid Hill, so move.
Second by Jessica.
Second by Jessica Fogarty. Any other questions, comments? If not, if Ms. Vaughn will please call the roll.
Kim Usselton,
Yes.
Teresa Lawson,
Yes.
Gigi Robinson,
Yes.
and Chairman Welsh.
Yes.
That's all in favor, Chairman.
Okay. And that brings us to the 2021 budget. Mr. Ray.
I think you've got one more item, Mr. Wells, on the unfinished business.
Excuse me. The furniture, I'm sorry, excuse me. Let me go back to the pages. Got it. All right, we've had a motion to go ahead and spend the money from this year's cycle on the superintendent's office and the front entrance. And we feel like we can very easily take the rest of the flooring and get it taken care of out of this year's budget. And Jason, how much is that balance?
Are we talking furniture or?
Furniture, I'm sorry. I said flooring, furniture. Excuse me.
The remaining is $130,991.
Okay. Again, we've had RFP and a bid process on that. Any questions or comments about the central office furniture? If not, I appreciate would entertain a motion for the expenditure.
Jessica, so moved.
Motion by Ms. Fogarty. Is there a second?
Second by Gigi.
Second by Ms. Robinson. Any further discussions on the administration, building, furniture? If not, if Ms. Vaughn will please call the roll.
Sid Hill,
Yes.
Kim Usselton,
Yes.
Teresa Lawson,
Yes.
and Pat Welch.
Yes.
That's all in favor, Chairman.
Thank you. Now, the 2021 budget, and continue to stay on top of me, Jason. Don't let me get too far ahead.
All right, thank you. The Budget and Finance Committee, we continue to work through the information that we're able to gather and find out as we attempt to realize the revenue impact from potential sales tax and property tax over the next several months. We did receive our May BEP estimate today, and it was relatively the same, within $1,000 of our estimate from the April information from the state. We will receive one more estimate in mid-June, and then a final definite number late June related to the BEP state monies. So we'll continue to look at that and make necessary changes and keep you informed of that over the next several weeks before the June meeting. Chairman.
Is there any questions on the budget for Mr. Ray? If not, I'll entertain a motion to, is this an action item tonight, Jason, or are we going into June?
No, sir, that'll be a June action item.
All right. Then this is an information item.
Correct.
All right. And now I'll call on Mr. Ray again for the audit report. The Finance Committee met. Go ahead, Jason.
This audit report is an audit for the 18-19 school year, so ending date of June 30 of 19. Budget and Finance met a week and a half ago, something like that, to go over the report. Obviously, it's a lengthy report. You all have copies of that to help you get to sleep at night. We did have no material violations or findings from the auditor. A couple of adjustments that we could have done better. We will do better in future years. We have been in communication with both Linda Bean from Householder Artman and in internal discussion and dialogue on what we can change in our process as far as a timing of when we make adjustments, and then when we come back to the board to make allocation adjustments or amendments to the budget before the audit goes to the auditor for review. And those are things that we can definitely take care of in future audits.
We just need to be aware of the dates and get the adjustments made by the board prior to those dates. Go ahead.
Yes, when we run our final numbers in early July, then we would anticipate coming to the board for an action for amending the budget in July, even though you're actually amending the year prior's budget. That's correct. Any questions?
The Finance Committee was created as a suggestion from the auditor about, I'm thinking 5 or 6 years ago. And the auditor felt like that the audit itself is so lengthy and so cumbersome that it would be really good to have a committee look at it, go over it in a meeting, and then present it to the board, which we have continued. The finding that, and it's not a material finding, but it's a suggestion, the auditor would really like an independent employee that would set up dual control on all of the bookkeeping area. It would require another full-time employee, and every year the auditor's wording differs a little bit, but this year it said it may not be practical or possible to perform these functions internally. Therefore, management may wish to acknowledge and accept this deficiency or develop compensating controls. And I talked to the auditor, and she's extremely satisfied with this audit, and she's extremely satisfied with Mr. Ray's comments to her. And we need to remember also the audit we're accepting tonight, or I'm going to ask for a motion to accept it. Mr. Ray was only here 1 week of this cycle. So we'd have a hard time chastising him, and we certainly aren't going to chastise his predecessor either. Do we have a motion to accept the audit, please? Or first of all, are there any questions? Not Gigi, was that a motion? Motion by Ms. Robinson?
Yes. Motion by.
Motion by Ms. Robinson. Is there a second?
Second, Teresa.
Second by Ms. Lawson. Any further discussion? If not, Ms. Vaughn would please call the roll.
Kim Russellton,
Yes.
Jessica Fogarty,
Yes.
Sid Hill,
Yes.
and Pat Welch.
Yes.
You have all in favor, Chairman.
Thank you. All right. And then we've got some contract information, and I hope Mr. Miller's here.
I'm here. Here.
I can't hear you, Clifton. I'm sorry.
Okay, I'm here.
No.
Can you hear me now?
A little bit more, but not very well. Your picture just showed up. Maybe it's going to be better now.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead and present the first part, the amendment to the interim director's contract, please.
There was a few questions about the interim director's contract, about his tenure, and also the ability of his principal contract, and whether or not it was still in existence. So we decided to make an amendment to clarify a few issues in that contract, to clearly state that just because we asked Mr. Hargrove to take this interim director's position, he did not lose his tenure rights. Also did not forego or give up his principal's contract, and basically state that he would fill the role of interim director until such time as the new director takes her position.
Are there any questions or comments for Mr. Miller, please? If not, I'll entertain a motion to accept the amendment to the interim director's contract. Interim.
Kim, so moved.
Motion by Ms. Usselton. Is there a second?
Jessica, second.
Second by Ms. Fogarty. Any further discussions? If not, if Ms. Vaughn will please call the roll.
Chairman Welch,
Yes.
Sid Hill,
Yes.
Teresa Lawson,
Yes.
and Gigi Robinson.
Yes.
That's all in favor, Chairman.
Thank you. And Mr. Miller, if you, the board meeting resolution.
Hold on a second.
Take your time.
Sandy, is this the resolution for meetings going forward?
Yes, sir.
Okay. I was asked for an opinion about how we could conduct meetings going forward. And based on the current executive orders from the governor, it's my opinion that as long as anyone participates in an electronic fashion, then all of us are going to have to participate in an electronic fashion. I think there was some desire for the board and certain personnel to meet live while the public was allowed to interact or participate in the meeting electronically. And so, but it's my interpretation of the governor's executive orders that as long as some portion, whether it be the public or anybody else, is participating electronically, we're going to all have to participate electronically. Now, if the board wishes to go to a live meeting, go back to their meeting as we have had them historically, where the public is invited in, we can do that. So basically, I think the board's options are one extreme or the other, all electronic or all live, not in between.
It sounds like to me this is an information item then. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
I think there was some desire to try to change before June, but then once I had an opportunity to read all the executive orders and interpret them, I think it's primarily an information item.
Right. And then now we're looking for an executive order to change. That's what we've got to wait on right now. Am I correct?
Yes, or the board is willing to just go back to live meetings, which is it's legal. It's just I'm not sure it's completely advisable under the current health circumstances.
I understand. Let's go then to the post-interim position resolution. Mr. Miller.
Sandy, you're going to have to help me on this one too. I don't have a resolution.
This is the one where we're allowing Dr. Stevens to use Mr. Hargrove in the administration building for help for a month.
Yeah, I was asked whether or not that Dr. Stevens could use Mr. Hargrove in whatever position she wants, for as long as she wants, and that's true. Any employee in the system is subject to assignment by the director. I think it's her desire to have him serve in an assistant director's position for at least 30, if not 60 days after her arrival to assist her in a transition period. And she can assign him where she wants him as long as he's an employee of the Tullahoma City school system.
Okay.
So I don't think there's any action item here on behalf of the board.
Okay. Any questions or comments for Mr. Miller on that? If not, Jason, are you to speak to the appropriation to the daycare?
I can.
Please.
As the board had previously expressed its desire and directed staff to interview and hire a daycare director, we became aware that funds needed to be available to assist in the startup of that process and endeavor. The daycare obviously will begin receiving tuition at the time of the fall semester, which will be later in the summer. But for the expenses that they will have in the preparation, the staff and the Budget and Finance Committee are recommending appropriating $30,000 as a startup funds for the TCS daycare.
And that's this year's budget.
That's would come out of this year's funds. That's correct.
This would have the recommendation of the Finance Committee, who met with Mr. Miller, Mr. Hargrove, Dr. Stevens, and Mr. Ray. At some point, as the daycare grows, we would hope that the daycare would have been able to in essence, pay us back. But I want to be sure that if we have a motion and a second and a passing, that is not, we're not billing them, and we're the worst we're going to be at is the 30,000. But I I really think this is going to be a very successful program, and they have identified in the interview process some really good director positions. Kim, have I covered it fairly well?
I think so, Pat. The only thing is, I think that in our discussion that we did not discuss any repayment of $30,000. Dr. Stevens made the recommendation that that be considered seed money, that because the daycare is supposed to be a break-even proposition. Obviously, nothing can start up without some sort of funding. Right. And if we start with the idea that there's hope we can pay the $30,000 back, we're kind of setting up the daycare for failure, because we want it to break.
If we're having a benchmark date that they have to, and we send over to Old West a bill for it, you're exactly right. That's not the intent. Correct.
I didn't think the intent was the repayment at all.
Okay. All right.
Is that what, Gigi, did you understand that?
That's the way I understood it also, that this is just money for startup, and that there was no repayment of these funds.
Mr. Hargrove shaking his head yes too. All right. So I didn't listen as well as I should have listened. But my point was that if we were going to have any payback, it was not going to be a legal document, and we weren't hanging that over their heads.
Well, and I never want it to be perceived that we're going to raise funds to be able to pay our system back, because that is our employees. It is a service for our employees.
Right.
It is.
Right.
We hope.
It'll be a great service. It'll be a great service, and it'll be a great recruiting tool.
Yes, that's what we hope.
All right, and if anybody's concerned about providing any seed, meaning the next we'll have a net savings at some point. So let me go ahead and ask for a motion then to provide a $30,000 seed.
So moved, Sid Hill.
Okay. Motion by Mr. Hill, and I believe we had a second by Ms. Robinson. Any further discussions? In the absence thereof, Ms. Vaughn, would you please call the roll before I mess up again?
Kim Musselton,
Yes.
Pat Welch,
Yes.
Teresa Lawson,
Yes.
and Jessica Fogarty.
Yes.
You have all in favor, Chairman.
Thank you. All right, Jason, internet filtering, the addition today.
Okay, thank you. Technology currently uses two solutions for internet filtering for devices. One covers iPads and the second covers Chromebooks. The current annual cost is just over $43,000 for those two services. Diane has researched some other solutions that could replace both of those options for an annual cost of $17,775, a savings of $25,643 annually. Diane and her staff have received positive feedback from other school districts that are already using Family Zone, as well as completed initial internal testing. Staff recommends the purchase of this internet filtering from Family Zone to allow time to order and receive equipment, train technology staff, and offer summer professional development to teachers and staff in order to be ready for the 2021 school year.
So moved by Jessica.
Motion by Ms. Fogarty. Is there a second?
Second, Teresa.
Second by Ms. Lawson. Jason, give me that so that Ms. Vaughn can enter it into the motion. The vendor is Family Zone, and it's $25,000. What was the last three digits?
The cost is $17,000.
I'm sorry. 17 what?
775.
Okay. All right. The motion then would be to go with the new filtering system, the vendor being Family Zone at the amount of $17,775. We've got a motion to second. Any further discussion?
Can I just say at this point, I just want to thank the tech group and Diane Darlington for looking into that.
I mean, I don't know that there's any other time to say that, but I just appreciated it because that's obviously a great savings, and it's a real commitment because we realize how much more of this we're going to maybe need to access in the future. So I just want to say thanks.
Jessica, on the timing, there's no better than the present to brag on somebody. Anybody else? Ms. Vaughn, if you'll call the roll, please.
Gigi Robinson,
Yes.
Sid Hill,
Yes.
Kim Usselton,
Yes.
and Pat Welch.
Yes.
We've got all in favor, Chairman.
Thank you. All right, Mr. Hargrove, you said you were going to wait around a little bit till we got back to the superintendent's report. Here you go.
It's been my favorite meeting of my whole tenure here because Jason had to do most of the talking.
And he did it well.
I've got
I just want to take a minute to thank each one of you on our Board of Education. I am humbled and honored to lead our district the past 244 days. And we were involved with the best kids in the state and some of the best folks you'll ever want to meet. And y'all are part of that best folks group. Our teachers, our staff, our maintenance, it truly has been an honor. I'm sure there's been maybe a few areas I've excelled at and fell short in many others, and I'll let other folks be the judge of that, and that's fine with me. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you for the opportunity to lead our district. My tenure is up May 31st, which is the 257th day, and I appreciate the opportunity. It's been an honor. Thank you.
I've got a response, and Ms. Vaughn, if you'd sprinkle it across the minutes. Mr. Hargrove came to his position in a challenging period. Change of director and filling in as an interim. On top of that, he was faced a state closing of schools due to a pandemic. I don't know if an educator could be asked to serve in a more difficult time. He has performed admirably and deserves thanks from all those involved in the Tullahoma City school system and by every citizen of our community. Please unmute and give Mr. Hargrove a round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Anything else to come before the board at this time?
Ms. Rupa? Our board liaison?
I'm here.
There's.
Can you hear me?
Count on Rupa.
We can hear you.
Okay, you guys can hear me. Then I'm going to give you a couple updates. Today on the Planning Commission, we voted on the construction of roads for a new development that's going to be going into the Robert E. Lee School District. It's called the Woodlands. It's off Avoca Road, and I want to say off the top of my head, it involves 35 homes. And I feel like it's something I wanted to bring to y'all's attention because I know at some point you look at, I'm sure, how many kids can fit into which schools, et cetera. So wanted to bring that up. And the other thing is that our city, as I'm sure you guys have been talking about, and I've been listening to you say it, we're expecting a significant loss of revenue for next year. And so what we're working right now on our budgeting is to make sure that we're keeping costs low, cost containment, because, you know, with the I'm going to guess, I don't want to say the R word, but the recession that we're going to be looking at, as well as with such a large loss of sales tax revenue, we have got to, as our city does, that we're going to have to look at as keeping costs as low as possible for the next fiscal year. So I just wanted to keep you guys abreast of that. I hate following up, you know, happy news with sad news. So, but that's what's going on here. And good talking to all y'all.
Thank you, Ms. Blackwell. Anything else to come before the board? If not, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Fogarty. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Hill. Any further discussion? Would you just raise your hand? There's the gavel, ladies and gentlemen. We are adjourned. Thank you, each and every one of you.
Thank you.
61 minutes. Great job.